America's former first princess, Ivanka Trump, will be forced to testify at her father's bank fraud trial, according to a recent ruling from a federal judge. Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engren stated that the oldest daughter, Ivanka, cannot block a subpoena forcing her to testify in Letitia James' civil trial against the former president, which, in my opinion, means,
oh no!
That's got to be the Trump reaction. A reaction from all the Trumps, by the way. Now, Engren said in his ruling that a trial is a search for the truth and that the public has a right to every person's evidence. Okay, interesting. Now, I would think that if Ivanka had any sort of evidence to help her father, that she would have volunteered, any information, that she had maybe volunteered to give it. No, she actually had a chance, and she tried to get out of the trial and successfully did, actually. She didn't want to testify in this case. She wanted to avoid the case. Ivanka was originally named as a defendant in the case, which I understand is different than witness. Still, she had succeeded, this is until she had succeeded in dismissing the claims against her on appeal under the statute of limitations. Time ran out. That's it. Now her lawyers want to use an argument to get her out of this one, the fact that she had won that previous appeal, and said that since she's no longer a New York resident, she should not have to take the stand. Now remember, this is the civil trial brought by Letitia James against the Trump organization for doing alleged massive fraud. All right, so now Engren disagreed after New York Attorney General Letitia James submitted a legal brief arguing that the former president's daughter remains financially and professionally intertwined with her father's company and can be called as a person under their control. So now, of course, the Trump lawyer, Christopher Kise, had argued against that, saying, quote, anyone who's raised a daughter past the age of 13 knows they are not under their control. Look, that actually got a laugh from the judge, because it's a good line. It's a good line, but a bad argument. Because what we're talking about is business here. And it's very, very clear that Ivanka is definitely tied to her father's business, the Trump organization. Look, she never said that I'm not a part of the Trump organization. Ivanka's attorney, Bennett Moskowitz, had offered to submit a sworn statement from his client, but it was too late. I mean, she could have done so a long time ago, but no, decided not to. And that's probably for the best, because doesn't seem like it's true. Okay. Maybe true now that she might, be in trouble for it. But in the time that this alleged fraud had gone on, well, definitely still part of the Trump organization. In fact, as Engren noted, Ms. Trump has clearly availed herself to the privilege of doing business in New York. Yes. Now, the details here in this, in the case that's being specifically referenced here, is the fact that one of her companies, Ivanka OPO LLC, happened to be a vehicle for her interest in the old post office property, which was sold in May of 2022, according to the AG's memo. The Attorney General's counsel, Kevin Wallace, estimated that Ivanka made at least $4 million off the sale. So she clearly made money here. That, again, in 2022, that's when it sold. Trump's fraud goes way back, further than that. But in this case, she made the money from the sale, as well as, of course, getting other perks from the Trump organization, which would show that she was a part of that organization. The AG's memo states that, quote, she did not seem to be averse to her involvement in the family business when it comes to owning and collecting proceeds from the OPO sale. As I mentioned, the Trump organization purchasing insurance for her and her companies. Now, one of the things that, is involved, of course, is inflating assets or deflating assets when it comes to taxes, when it comes to getting out loans, things like that. The Trump organization also managed her household staff and her credit card bills, as well as renting her apartment or even paying her legal fees in this action. Those are all the perks that she got from a company that she's supposed to not be part of, Not part of enough to testify. Right. Okay. Look, those perks, hey, those are nice perks. Now they just happen to be a little inconvenient. Yes. As I mentioned before, the only reason that she's not a defendant in this fraud case is because the statute of limitations ran out. That said, the Attorney General's complaint alleged that Ivanka was liable for the fraud committed on a Deutsche Bank loan issued to Trump and his company for that old post office project. In fact, Wallace said this, quote, "She ran that project, not Eric Trump." Oof. So, look, she may not be a defendant, but that doesn't mean that she can't be a witness for the prosecution. Because obviously it's the prosecution that wants to talk to her. If she had anything that would be helpful to the defense, well, don't you think that she would be, called by the defense to testify on behalf of her father and her brothers? The fact that she's not, that says at least something that anything that she might have either would not be helpful or would be damaging to her father or her family. Also could say that she's kind of ready to wash her hands of her own family because it might get her in trouble being associated. I don't know if that's the case. Now, that said, she has the opportunity to appeal this, so it is possible that she could somehow win on appeal to where she doesn't have to testify, but I don't know. The fact is, though, from where I see it, she was still involved in the family business, just like she was involved when she was in the White House, serving her father in the administration, and I also think that she was likely involved in the family crimes.